Guys, good Monday morning. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. While the show airs and is broadcasted live from downtown Charlottesville, Virginia, we have an audience that is Central Virginia-wide, Commonwealth-wide, country-wide, and worldwide on the I Love CVille Network. And today, Real Talk with Keith Smith is presented by Keller Williams Alliance. I say it loud and I say it proud. Keller Williams Alliance. You, the viewer and listener, can make this show even more dynamic by offering your thoughts and perspective in the feed. Suzanne Real, que pasa? Welcome to the program. Ally Property Management, a trusted name in the property management game. Judah, let's go to the studio camera and let's welcome the always composed, the always fabulous Nikki Chambless to the program. Good morning, Nikki. How are you?
Happy Monday. Oh, I'm great. Yep, I'm excited to be here.
Nice to see you.
So, did a quick run from the office, which is what I normally do. But sometimes I take too long at the office because, I just really love those people. So.
Oh, absolutely. And today, one of the people you love, you brought the fabulous Kerry Griggs with you.
Definitely. Yes.
Good morning.
Yes.
Talk to us about Kerry.
Kerry is amazing.
What you love about him?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, what I love about him, his energy. Seriously,
too,
like I had a call from our region with KW, right? And they were like, so we need somebody from your office that's like been caught in culture. And I was like, well, so there's this one agent where I'm like, I can't think of an exact instance, but like he exudes culture. And I know culture is one of those words that's totally abused, but like when you think about who Kerry is, that's the definition.
Absolutely. This guy's A-plus people. All right, so Kerry, let's cut straight to the chase here. Talk to us since the last time you've been on the show. What's the temperature on the street? How's the market doing from your perspective?
The market's still doing pretty well from me. I had 3 closings on Friday, so that was nice.
Nice.
Yes. The market is, you're seeing it soften up a little bit and a little bit of a shift. Now it's giving buyers a little more opportunities to look at homes, whereas it's not as crazy as what it once was, which is great. I think everybody can use a little bit of a breath and kind of just slow it down a little bit. This way people have the ability to make decisions, informed decisions.
And this guy's got a large footprint. He's going to Carytown and Richmond today to help potential out-of-market buyers. He travels and he closes deals. So why don't we talk about that, the various pockets that you work within, zip code wise. How's the Richmond market maybe compared to the Charlottesville market? The
Richmond market is still booming pretty well. I happen to like working in both markets. It gives me a sense of, what's going on. I live in Zion's Crossroads, so it's like a midway point for me. But I also cover the Stanton area. I cover, Culpeper. I have one in Broadway, Virginia, which is on the other side of Harrisonburg that will be closing here soon. I was the listing agent on that. And, just really do your research when you're going to these areas. But I travel in these areas quite a bit anyway, so I know them pretty well.
Is the Richmond market as competitive as what we're seeing around here?
Yes, it is.
Yeah?
It's still
because there's a misconception that, there's a ton of rooftops. Richmond's easier to buy something. You're saying not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, not so fast. You still find it competitive. I'm very fortunate to have a contractor background like I do because I tend to do a lot of new construction, and it's easier for me to sell a new construction when you have like here in Virginia, you get a 1-year builder warranty, so that's really appealing to folks. And when you talk to them about the use and abuse of resale homes, which, I understand the need for resale because if you're trying to be in a specific location and they ain't building in there anymore, you got to go with the resale. But it is very appealing to buyers that are trying to get into a home that they know is going to be covered for at least the first year.
Absolutely. Kerry Griggs, guys. Nikki Chambless here on Real Talk with Keith Smith. Nikki Chambless, the show is yours.
Oh my gosh. So I think like a lot of what we're talking about in all of the circles that I am running in that overlap so very much is this market, what we think is going to happen and how it's impacting things, right? So my shirt that I'm wearing today, for those who can't see, actually I'm going to have to read it, is Charge the Storm.
Charge the Storm, I like it.
That.
Because buffaloes, that's what they do. When a storm is coming, they charge through it and get through it faster. And that's kind of, yes, the shift, yes, it's positive. And we've talked about it, last week even. It does make some things not as easy. It's still as simple as it has ever been, and it has always been, at least since I've been in, and probably even a little further back, right, since we have had the amazing agency laws and all the protections for the consumers. But it being simple and easy are not the same.
We got props coming in from Neil. Is it Levitt?
Hey,
Watching
Neil,
the program right now. He says, "Go, Kerry, go."
Thank you,
Awesome.
bro.
If you want some props or perspective heard on air, put them in the comment section. I will relay it live on air. Kevin Yancey says, "Please have the panel compare the west of the mountain to the Richmond area." That's Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro. Daniel Pettit of Real Estate 3. What's up, my friend, and welcome to the broadcast.
Yeah.
So one of the viewers and listeners, for you specifically, Kerry, says you have experience on the other side of the mountain, making dreams a reality.
Yep.
You have experience in Richmond making dreams a reality. Compare the two markets.
I actually think that the west of the mountain is actually probably a little more competitive than it is in Richmond. Richmond's very similar to the Charlottesville market, but I still think it's booming on that side. And I think the reason for that is because of the price point. It seems to be more affordable on that side of the mountain, especially if you're trying to commute to the Charlottesville area and you're just, that's within 30 minutes. So I think it's a very good price point for over there, and so it just tends to be a little more competitive. Now, obviously, once you hit those, 500s and above, it's a little slower in those, but, anything 250, 300,000 is being consumed pretty quickly.
More comments coming in. Let's get to Lauren's comment right here. For the panel, ask Nikki and Kerry, where is the starter home, and not the starter home in the 4s or early 5s, but where is the starter home in the 2s now? How far do we have to drive?
You can still find some of those in the Palmyra, Fluvanna, Scottsville area. And if you are willing to travel, maybe even up in the Madison County, Greene County. Yeah.
Nikki, what do you think?
Well, I think he's 100% right, but I think it's hard to find it within that 30-minute range. You can go just outside of it.
Yep.
Because even getting to the lake, what's that, about 35 minutes?
35.
Well, it depends on traffic, but yeah.
Yeah, it just depends. Louisa's still putting up houses pretty well.
Yeah.
New constructions for under 300,000, you're at that 295, 297 range for the new constructions.
The questions are coming in fast
That's
right
awesome.
now. Daniel Pettit, Real Estate 3. He's an agent. Got a hell of a forehand on the tennis courts, man.
Oh, nice.
This guy is Mr. Suave on the tennis courts. Kerry and Nikki, he says, how many first-time home buyers have been driven out of this market over the last 60 to 90 days with rising rates? Great question.
I would say a good amount. Well, it just depends. It's how prepared were they when they entered to this market. I know a lot of them have been, trying to get a foothold in here since, probably the last year or two. With the rising rates, it makes it a little bit more difficult for them. But I'm actually speaking with a lender last week. It sounds like they're starting to come down, or at least level out, not as aggressive of what they were, and which seems strange when you think that 5.5% is high, considering on a 10-year average it's around 6%.
Yeah.
We're just used to seeing the last 2 years being that 3.5%, 4% that we're all accustomed to. And
can you guys explain that to me? I mean, is that just sticker shock and being like almost brainwashed by the national media? Because Kerry's point is really good. I mean, if you have good credit, you're looking at a 30 fixed under 6.
Yeah.
I mean, good night. That's cheap money.
It is.
And everyone is freaking terrified. They're like, oh, this is so expensive. I can't afford this. This is causing all this doom and gloom. It's cheap money.
It is cheap money, especially I bought my house 12 years ago, and I love living in the Zions Crossroad area. I was there before it actually started to grow a little bit. I bought my house with 7%. With an FHA loan, which I was extremely happy because I wasn't renting anymore. And don't get me wrong, there's a need for the rental market as well. But I became a homeowner when I was, in my mid-20s, which was fantastic, and I was super excited at 7%. And as the market kind of went down or rates adjusted, I was able to refinance into a normal conventional loan, and I dropped the PMI off of my mortgage, saved myself about $175 on my monthly payment.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a good amount of money. And so when you think about it, you play the long term versus just, hey, it depends on what your goals are. If you're looking to stay in a home for 2 years so you can avoid paying capital gains tax and then roll that into another home, great, if that's your strategy. But on a long term, 10-year goal investment, I think there's still room here to be safe.
This is here where I segue to Nikki Chambless.
Okay, yeah.
Marry the house, date the rate.
Yes.
Is that what you're going to say?
Well, no, but I should have. Totally should have been what I said. But
you taught me that.
I know, yes, because it's amazing. And you know where I learned that from? Amanda Spicone.
Okay, Amanda. We love you, Amanda Spicone.
Team director, yep. So she's awesome. She finds all this knowledge and shares it, and I love that. So I was thinking more of the whole aspect of the lower rates. It was just so nice, and it was so refreshing, and it made it easier for people who had not had the opportunity to be in the home buying world. Really made it so much simpler and easier, and we were able to throw in closing costs as part of that number, right? And the rates were what, 3, 4, below 3 sometimes.
I mean, you had some
right?
below 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like 275.
Yeah,
Good
and
Lord.
that was not abnormal, right? To be in that 3 to 4 range. So it's not that it's, oh my gosh, it's the worst, but it is a hard shift to make when it did get quite easy compared to what it's been from 2011 on, right? So it was so nice to have that. And now I think that those same people just have to make sure that if they were not already of that mindset of saving and being able to be better prepared, they can still buy a house. It is not ruled out for them. It just means a little more time, a little more like preloading of work, right? The saving and making sure that credit score is as great as you can get it, so you can get the lowest rate possible.
Well said. Well said. A question for the both of you from your affable and likable host here. Is it more challenging right now for the first-time home buyer to buy in this market? We got homes, DOMs are longer, days on market are longer. There's less competition, buyer competition right now, or was it more challenging for a first-time home buyer to buy a house during the peak of the pandemic when it was freaking bananas out there, Kerry?
I personally think it was harder for a first-time home buyer to do this a year ago than it is now.
Okay.
Because you're seeing more days on market, and which is great. In my opinion, that is great. It's it's getting a little bit more normal. You don't just having, and you still have that. You still have houses that go over the weekend, which is fantastic for the sellers. But if you have it on the market for 14 days and you get somebody that's well qualified, well thought out, they're a little bit more not making rash decisions because they want to be in a specific location. They had time to look around at the property, and they're comfortable with all the cosmetic things that may be done. That might be a better option for the seller because it's actually going to go through versus somebody just getting cold feet because they had to rush real quickly and make a split decision, and a home inspection comes back with a couple minor items and saying, well, you know what, I'm just having cold feet, so I'm going to take a back seat for a second. So I actually think it's easier today than it was a year ago for a first-time home buyer.
You agree?
I agree. Yes,
Yeah?
Absolutely. I do. I mean, that was not a market that was easy for anyone.
No.
It did not matter what your budget was. That was a challenging market to buy a home in. I mean, people were going so much above list price and with all sorts of removing of contingencies, and we're still losing out. Right.
Follow-up question for you then. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and let's be realistic here. There is a certain allure to having a 3% interest rate, and so let's be realistic here. How many people actually came into the market because they seen that this was the cheapest mortgage historically, and they were like, you know what?
We were spoon-fed by the national media that.
Yeah.
We were almost brainwashed.
Yeah, and so how many of those people that weren't considering buying were like, oh, now's my time? So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other when you think about that.
I mean, it's still cheap money as far as that goes. And
oh my God.
It
real
is.
estate is still where I would put my money, or do put my money.
So
you're getting props from Scott Morris right now.
Hey,
Scotty
Scott.
Morris, we love you, homie. He said, well said.
That's great.
Kerry Griggs, Neil Williamson, we'll get to your comment here in a matter of moments. Here's the follow-up question. Man, we have a lot of questions coming in here that we have to get to. The follow-up question is this. You guys both agree that it's easier for the first-time home buyer to buy in this market than at the craziness of the pandemic. The follow-up question is this. Is it more affordable now in this market than at the crazy times of the pandemic for the first-time home buyer and buying a house? Is it more affordable now? That's different than easier.
So I'm happy to speak on that, but go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking, does it matter if it's more affordable if you couldn't get a house before?
That's a fair point. But you see the difference, though, between easier...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's impossible, yet more affordable, which I don't know that it was because we were competing so much.
Rates are higher.
Yeah, but the whole competition for... it was brutal. It was crazy.
You had appraisal gap coverage, all contingencies waived, first-time home buyers fighting with cash buyers.
Yeah.
I mean, some offers were unlimited. There was no cap.
I had some of those.
I think
Kerry's itching to get in here.
I was going to say, you are correct in that statement. Do I think that houses are more affordable? No, I don't think they're necessarily more affordable.
You think they're more expensive now?
I think they're more expensive now with the last year driving up home prices. I think we still have an affordability problem with some of these homes. I think that, it'd be nice to have some, houses in that 250 range and that 250 to 300 ranges. I'd like to see more of those come to the market, and I think we will over, the next couple of years as builders start to catch up. But I don't think it's more affordable for first-time home buyers. I do think it's easier. And you have to understand what your buyers are looking for. Is it that they can afford it because they have great credit and they have good jobs, great income, but maybe they haven't saved up as much as that. So for them to be able to roll in the closing costs, or, if it's an existing home that they're catching a break from because they know, a landlord that they're purchasing it from, can they ask for a gift of equity into their home? So I think it's easier for the first-time home buyer, but I don't think it's more affordable for the first-time home buyer.
Alex Knight giving Kerry some props right now on the feed.
Nice.
We got 3 states on the show right now. Let's go to Neil Williamson, the president, El Presidente of the Free Enterprise Forum. Where's your comment over here? All right, let me ask another one. Here it is. How does the new construction regulatory environment compare on the other side of the mountain to this side of the mountain? And let's also add Richmond. So a question from the king of content, Neil Williamson, for the panel. Kerry and Nikki says, panel, please compare the new construction regulatory environment, Central Virginia, Shenandoah Valley, and Richmond. We know Central Virginia is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
So I want to make sure that I understand the question. So what does he mean by the...
It means with new construction in the Albemarle County area, for example, 24% the cost of a new home is red tape and paperwork. Yeah. So a $400,000 home, $100,000 of that is not like hardwood floors or roofing or appliances or granite.
I think
it's paperwork.
I think you're going to have a little less of that on the other side of the mountain than you are in the Albemarle County area. I actually don't think Albemarle County is terrible. I mean, some of the regulatory processes that you have to go through for the city of Charlottesville is a little bit more difficult than it is in the county. In my experience from the contractor side, I think you're probably better off in the other side, Waynesboro, Stanton, Shenandoah, those areas. Richmond actually seems pretty decent as well. I don't think they're as strict as over here in this area.
You want to touch that, Nikki?
So this is really not my area. The perception to me is exactly what Kerry said, and I think Kerry knows this area much better than I do. Sure. So I'm going to let him roll with that. So
and it just depends on which part of Richmond you're into. I know Chesterfield is a little bit easier than it is in the heart of the city.
Comments coming in faster than we can get to here. What percentage of the new homes, Kerry, are you selling that are townhomes because of higher price for detached homes? Great question.
A good amount actually. So
of townhomes?
The townhomes, especially in the new construction, they're going to be more affordable than the detached homes. And again, it just depends on what your buyers' needs are. Are they planning to be here? I work a lot with the military folks and people moving here for graduate school, and so I know that they're not going to be here for the long haul, so they're okay with the townhome settings. They just need something to where they're going to, in my opinion, like safe haven for their money, right? Because if you're renting, you're just kind of paying the landlord's mortgage, which again, depending on what your goals are, is okay. Whereas somebody can put that into their own house and then potentially get that equity back out when they go to sell in 5 years.
You got Melody Thrailkill?
Uh-huh. Hey,
look at you, Kerry. Go, Kerry, go, she says right now.
I like it.
Kerry is well-liked here on the interwebs.
Kerry's well-liked everywhere.
I know he is. He's very well-liked.
I come from a very small town.
He's a likable guy.
When I came to Charlottesville, I thought Charlottesville was huge. I was like, man, there's no way. And now that I've been here for so long, it's like I'm one touch away from everybody.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. That's why I like to go to the Richmond market as well. I'm a little less known there, so I can kind of hide and just,
That's not going to last long.
No, I can go on a date night with my wife, and, it's kind of just us two.
Some more comments coming in. I love this. Spencer's watching the program. Spencer, you often comment on the show. Will you let us know where you're watching? We'd love to give you a moniker on this program, Spencer. He says, for the panel, can you guys talk about which segments of the market you're most concerned about and why? Nikki, you want to start with that one?
I don't know, I'm not sure that I have a concern per se. I think my biggest concern when it comes to housing is just the lack of affordability. And that's a really big picture challenge. Yeah.
Maybe not concern, but maybe has not as much momentum as other segments of the market. How's that?
So here's the thing. They shouldn't always have the kind of momentum that we've seen for the last 2 years. Honestly, they should almost never have that kind of momentum, right? So again, that's not a concern. We talked about the higher price point homes. I want to say it was last week. No, it was the time before, the show before that, where even that's not going to calm as fast as I had originally thought, just due to it being very challenging to get into a new build, right? And that price point being very similar. So everything is slowing a little bit. The lower price point is always going to be hotter than anything else, especially in an area where we do not have that affordable market price point. We just don't. So anything that is $350 or lower, or $400 or lower, or $450 sometimes, it's going to be a little higher pace than others. And when you have a shortage of inventory, what are you going to do? It's only going to slow so much. People need houses.
Kerry, you worried about any segments?
No, not necessarily. So I think if you're going to see any kind of slowing of any of the market, I would say it's probably going to be between that $500,000 and $800,000 price point, because that's not going to be for your first-time home buyers or your family that's trying to slightly upgrade, and it's not going to be within those higher
super wealthy.
Yeah, super wealthy. They're quite frankly not as concerned about, $800,000, I feel like, is a little bit smaller on their price point when they're shopping in the millions. So I think that's going to be the one that we're really going to have to keep our eye on. Not too much worried about it, but I do think we need to have an honest conversations with the sellers that are going to be coming into the market and letting them know, hey, be prepared for more days on market. And just because you've seen somebody's house go a year ago for $100,000 over listing price, you're probably not going to come across that, only because it's not that same market that it was 6 months ago.
Follow-up question from one of the viewers here. With the higher-end price points, in this market, are you seeing more buyers use cash to avoid the escalating rates?
Not necessarily. It's still basic for me anyway, as in my sales practice. I closed on one on Friday. $850,000 house. It was just a 20% down conventional loan.
That's a good commission for you there, Kerry Griggs.
It was nice, but
very nicely done right there. The only time the man is at a loss for words.
At the end of the day, I just want to have happy clients, because that word of mouth is going to do more for me than that one commission check.
How about this one? Do you guys feel that much of the new construction coming on the market will be attached homes in Albemarle County because of the cost of land?
Yes.
Give us your take on that, guys.
I kind of hope so, because that means more houses, right? That means slightly lower price than if they were detached. It's kind of what we need.
What do you think, Kerry?
Yeah, I think we're going to see more of the attached homes. I think that is what I think that's actually what's moving quite well here. And I think builders do their homework and they do their research. They don't just buy properties, or they don't just buy lands with the intentions of, building. Well, I guess it just depends. I think they go into it very analytically. They are not buying and selling them based on emotions. They're a calculated risk for them. So I think the townhomes is going to be the better move in the next near future.
Cost of dirt, guys, quite expensive around here. The townhome attached product helps kind of circumvent that and keeps cost in check. This is a very good question. For the panel, do you guys see new construction stalling as builders figure out where the market's going, what the market wants, and where rates are heading? Great question.
No, and I certainly hope not. Again, we're still low inventory. Even though our days on market are increasing, it's still not even close to what we would call a normal, right? And those days are really only increasing, or the days on market, our inventory increasing is really only because of the longer days on market. not because their inventory is jumping, right?
Devil's advocate with you,
Yeah.
and then pass to Kerry. Labor still somewhat of an issue.
Oh, big time.
Supply chain still kind of pinched, although it's kind of alleviating.
Yeah.
Some of the goods, I mean, you know, finding some kind of appliances right now, especially the higher ends, is difficult. Getting people to install them is difficult. What are you seeing out there with new construction starts?
I honestly think that this is probably going to be good for the builders, because this will give them time to catch up, put the right pieces in place. I hope that it doesn't slow any of the building permit applications that they're going to be putting in, because there's still obviously a need for that. And I think we were just under, you know, with the delay between 2008 and 2015, we stopped kind of producing the homes that we were, just because builders were taking a hit. And I think now we're getting into the point to where we're going to start catching up. So I think this is what the builders will need. Do I think it's going to slow down the application process? No. I think they're just going to figure out where the need is, and they're going to be more strategic.
Nikki Chambless.
No, I agree. And truly, like I had shared, that's kind of what we need. We're not at a point where we're like, oh yeah, we have enough houses. That's cool. We could stop, right? That would be crazy. And the builders still have to be able to survive and have their business model strong. And from the things that I'm seeing and hearing, is it harder? Yes, most definitely. But is it to the point where it's not doable or worth it or a valuable business to move forward with? Absolutely not.
Do we think the fall market is going to return even more buyers to the playing field with summer vacation over and the rugrats that we love but drive us crazy back in school?
Yes, I do. Only because, I think a lot of people were experiencing fatigue from the last 2 years. Agents, I know we were, but also buyers and sellers, those that were getting beat out on all these deals that they've put in offers. A lot of my folks that were just going to be buying a home because they can now afford it and the rates were well, I would say a handful of those guys have, signed another year lease. And they've been waiting for this moment to cool down, kids back in school, vacations to be over. And I think we're going to see that. And I'm honestly seeing a flux of sellers coming back into the market. They're like, hey, we're ready. And I'm not sure if that's the FOMO or it's because they have seen that inventory is starting to stay on the market longer. And
maybe their rents aren't going down.
Yeah.
They're seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the rents are going up faster than well, not faster than the home values are going up, but the rents are skyrocketing as well.
I mean, yeah, and again, if you're in the rental business, that was your time to make those updates to your homes, to get the rents that you could, and I think that's going to drive a lot of the buyers back into the market, is now they say, okay, well, now I can put something into my equity of my home instead of the homeowners or the landlord's equity. Bashir's
giving the table props, the panel props.
Awesome.
Bashir's got the voice of a songbird, just like Nikki Chambless over here. Katie Pearl says Kerry Griggs has the world's greatest attitude.
Yes.
Woohoo! Hey,
Keller
Katie.
Williams Alliance. Katie Pearl, we love
Yes,
Katie Pearl.
amazing, yes.
Bashir says we built in Afton, and because of a shortage of skilled people and goods such as appliances, it took 2 years to build a house.
Yeah.
And we're still dealing with shortages on replacement parts. Good comment right there for Bashir. You want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I think there's a problem with the labor shortage right now. I think we need more tradesmen out there in the industry. I would love to start a Boys and Girls Club with a trade school attached to that, so those that know they're not going to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, those things that need that degree can go into a workplace. If they started out as juniors, they would have 2 years work experience. That would be great for you.
This is a great idea.
This would be great for your builders. If they invest into some of that programming and the schooling, I think you would have more workers come out of high school with 2 years of experience going to the plumbing, the framing, the carpentry, and the electrical, even mechanical. And then this way you get more skilled laborers in. I think that's where we're having the biggest problems with the housing market is, you don't have enough skilled laborers out there.
And he speaks firsthand about this.
Yeah.
I mean, you've told this story before. College was not for you.
College was not for me. I ended up graduating with 2 associate's degrees, one in business and one in general studies, and I was going to go to UVA, but I deferred that because, I was doing just as much in the trades as what my other college colleagues were doing.
Without the student debt.
Without the student debt.
Yeah, dude was stacking paper as a teenager.
It was really nice. And again, you can make six figures in the trade world easier than one would think.
Without the student debt.
Without the student debt. Can make a great living. I have friends of mine making $500,000 as electricians and plumbers and HVAC guys, and it's fantastic to watch them grow. And it's only because there's a shortage of these guys out there, and they're not charging outrageous prices. It's not like they're trying to get over on anybody or gouge. If you do it at a decent living, you do really, really well. I think there was a big push for the college, and and I don't mean to offend anybody, but that is like what we're geared to do, high school to college, and then you come out. I don't need a liberal arts degree to, work at a coffee shop, or I don't need that to work in the skilled trades. I think it is just something that's drilled into the kids. I wish they would push trade school a little bit more. And that's
why isn't it, Kerry? This is a great take. Stephanie Rhodes, we'll get to your comment here in a matter of moments. We got a lot of people. You're resonating with a lot of people here. What's with is it the stigma? Is it the trade stigma versus the 4-year college push? I mean, why is it rammed down? Because you and I, how old are your kids?
I have a 7 and a 4-year-old.
Okay, so you're on the cusp of dealing with this here. Mine's 4.5 here. Why is it just so rammed down our throats? The 4-year college, come out $200,000 in debt, as opposed to the plumber, electrician that gets paid as an apprentice.
Yeah.
They go to college and they get college is apprenticeship, and they're getting paid.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure why they push that more. And I think there's labor shortages in other industries as well, like the teacher, the teacher trades. I'm not 100% sure why they push college over trade school. I wish they would bring it back. When I was coming up, I'm 37 years young, and there was Votex and trade schools and K-Tech and things like that. And I don't even know if they offer.
We have K-Tech, and it offers all sorts of things. Absolutely.
Yeah,
they do sometimes struggle with finding teachers.
Right.
There's a teacher shortage at K-Tech right now.
Yeah, I did see that.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, I did see that.
And they can't offer things if they don't have someone to teach it.
Right?
Yeah.
That's literally what's happening.
Because they're too busy in the field.
Is that what you think
they're too busy in the field to
like, why teach electrical when you can go work in the field and make $1.50 an hour doing electrical?
They don't even have it in high schools anymore. When I was coming up, they had wood shop. Ag.
They're bringing it back, though. A lot of places
I would love to see that.
Yeah, no, a lot of places are. It's been a while since I've looked at Fluvanna, but at one point years ago I was looking, and they were bringing something back. K-Tech is there, and when they have teachers, they're running full force and trying really hard to train students. But let me ask, because you said you have an associate in business. How's that helped you, though? Because you weren't working for someone, but for how long?
I probably worked for someone until I was like 25, and then I went into the sales job with Better Living in the kitchen and bath area.
I bet you crushed that, dude.
Yeah, well, that was something that I already was into. I was already into it, and I was installing cabinets in kitchens, and I was a project manager at that time when I got hired on there. So it was easy for me to segue into that. I just had to learn the sales part of it, in which I've always been good with people. Yeah. I can talk to most people, as long as they're nice, or they don't have to be so nice, but you know what, just finding a common ground for them.
Right.
But you were like, why don't they push the trade schools? I don't know.
Oh, no, I wasn't asking that. Yeah, no. So
she has
do you
kids
think
too.
that I do. And I actually have a kiddo that attended K-Tech, but for cosmetology. And it was great. The COVID hit at the end of that, so licensing didn't end up happening because it was quite the kerfuffle. But I do think that I think we need more people in these trades, but I think part of it is, yes, you can make good money, but you're out there working hard.
Yeah,
I think I am in a room full of people who have done hard work and are not afraid of it, actual physical hard work. But that takes a wear and tear on your body. Like, I've had family members who were electricians. I have a best friend who was doing mechanic small engines and does all sorts of physical labor, and it takes a toll on your body. So if you're not geared to do something to shift that so you don't beat up yourself, that's a challenge.
Well, you had asked me, has my degree gotten
Yeah.
me any further? No.
No, it hasn't gotten any further. Did it help? Because you now own a business. You own two.
So I will say.
Tell me about your second business.
So my contracting business?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a contracting business as well. So,
He's an entrepreneur.
it's
Yes.
one of those things. I was a licensed contractor before I was a real estate agent. So it was easy for me to offer services to clients that had needs, right? Obviously, I can't be your real estate agent and your contractor at the same time. But, if I have somebody, or when in the beginning when my real estate was going a little bit slower, I was able to survive and feed my family with my contracting side. And so I can either throw on my tool belt. I have a silly saying, if I do it for you, it's $100 an hour. If you're going to watch me, it's $150, and if you want to help me, it's $200 an hour. So,
That's awesome.
It just, it's a little joke that I do, but it's serious, because it took me 15. Took me 15 years to learn how to do those kind of things efficiently. They're like, you're only here for 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but it took me 15 years to learn how to do it in the 30 minutes. So, it's
plus the tools that you had that people don't have. They ain't cheap.
Yeah,
You're not.
Yeah, and you're correct. And for the college part of things, did it help me? Yes, in some ways, but I never went to school with the intentions of getting a degree. I needed certain skill sets. I needed to learn how to public speak. I needed to learn how to write a professional email. And I look back on some of my emails before I took all the English classes and writing classes that I did, and they were awful. And I'm so glad that I did it.
Nice.
I just took classes that I wanted to take, accounting, business, public speaking, and English.
Critical classes.
Yeah, critical, just professional
for
classes.
anything in life.
And I just happened to have enough credits to get those 2 degrees, and I just stopped it at that. But I felt like these are the skill sets that I needed, and I encourage everybody to do that. It's okay to take a class. I spend more on my self-education now that I spend about $6,000 a year, $6,000 to $7,000 a year on sales training, on business classes, or on public speaking. Any opportunity that I get to speak in front of a crowd, I take it. Does it scare me? Yes. Am I nervous? Obviously. But it helps me.
Dude, you crush it.
It helps me.
Dude's crushing
like
this
anytime
show.
I get asked on the show, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that because
You're
it's
natural.
Something that I have to do in order to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
He's crushing it. A lot of comments coming in here. This is from Stephanie Wells Rhodes. Her family owns the Intrastate Service Company brand. They are fantastic, and they know the remodeling and the construction market inside and out.
Yep.
Their family just finished a house for their fabulous son, who's recently engaged in Scottsville. She says the house, they built it. The family did. Nice. The house is not extravagant. It's about 2,600 square feet on an unfinished basement for future growth. This house, she says, cost double what we had planned. She said everything has doubled from when we built our house in 2017, and they're in the Keswick area. Yeah. Everything has doubled. You want to touch on that there, Kerry?
Yeah,
it ain't cheap out there.
Yeah, no, it ain't. Obviously the cost of materials and supplies have went up. Not only the materials, I would say it's, the material costs are starting to come back to a reasonable price. And what we're having is
1,600 square feet. Sorry, she says 1,600 square feet. Correction. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but also your labor has went up because
there's not enough people.
Yeah, they're understaffed, and they can.
I mean, she knows about this. Her company.
Yeah, and you can because you don't have many options out there. And so for it's the 3 things. You can have 3 things. You can have it fast, you can have it good, or you can have it cheap. But you can only have 2 of those 3, right? So if you want the best quality out there, you're going to pay for it. Even if you want it fast, you're going to pay for it. It doesn't sound like anything's being built fast anymore, but the people that are still in the trades that haven't moved to, a desk job or something a little more easy on the body, they are charging a good amount more than what they were in 2017. I was still in the construction trades in 2016, 2017, and my prices, everybody kept telling me to charge more for my prices, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's going up because there weren't enough of us. No, but you're 100% correct. It is getting it is more expensive than it was 2017.
Well said.
For sure.
Nikki Chambless, Neil Williamson says, you get bonus points for the word kerfuffle.
I was trying not to say other things.
That was great. It's the first time kerfuffle's ever been used on the I Love CVille Network. When you said the word, I was like, I looked at Judah. Is that the first time, Judah, kerfuffle's ever been used? What is the exact definition of kerfuffle?
That's a great question. I hope it's not bad.
Judah, do you have that? Judah's looking it up, the exact definition of kerfuffle. Throw this to you. Do we see new subdivisions coming on market? And Dan wants to know specifically, do you expect subdivisions like Old Trail being built between Zion's Crossroads and the Richmond area?
I don't think as big as Old Trail. Old Trail, that one, man, I remember building in there when it first started, when it was all farmland. I was like, wow, I built the first set of townhomes in there. And to see what it is today is just amazing. I don't think that we're going to have anything like that between here in Richmond or Zion's Crossroads in Richmond. I think you're going to see more of like Spring Creek, maybe.
How would you characterize the differences between the two, Old Trail and Spring Creek?
Spring Creek is a little more like detached homes and single family as far as that, whereas in Old Trail I'm seeing more townhomes and more like apartments and things like that. Like you have an entire apartment complex in there. You have two of them that I'm aware of.
Stores, right? Stores, so they're more of an all-in-one community, I think, is what they're going for.
Like its own little ecosystem in there.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a really great setup. I think it's a great model, and I don't know if it's something that's easy to duplicate with land being so expensive. I mean, I'm sure it's doable. This is, not the area that I'm as expertise in.
How about the follow-up to that is, how do you see the market expanding to Richmond between Zion's Crossroads and Richmond?
Yeah, you're going to see a lot through the Richmond. I think you're going to see two things. Richmond's going to start creeping more this way. And you've already seen it with the expansion of Short Pump. They've put in more commercial sides coming from the mall, coming this way. And there's a really, really nice piece of farmland on the other side of Short Pump Mall that they've been sitting on for the longest time. I'm curious to see how that one plays out. But you're starting to see the Short Pump area creep into here. And you're also getting growth out there in the Zion's Crossroads area. I think that anytime you have large commercial industries like Walmart and Lowe's, you're going to naturally get growth around there. I mean, we've seen it all over the place. We've seen it in Zion's Crossroads. We've seen it in Greene County, Charlottesville, obviously. But I think anywhere that you have those kind of things, you're going to see growth.
Well, Louise has been working really hard at being set up for growth. Like this was pre all the explosion. I feel like quite a few of our surrounding counties and areas, but especially Louisa, they've been very strategic and they've been very forward-thinking in what they're trying to do.
They got the water, they got the proximity to the interstate, they landed Walmart and Lowe's, which is huge. They got that commercial development outside the gates of Spring Creek, which is fantastic and offers just about any shopping amenity you need. This was an interesting meme posted on Seth Batten's page.
I like that.
Did you guys see?
Yeah, he was a teammate of mine.
I see a lot of his, but what did he do?
This is the meme he posted. Please keep me in your thoughts. Nothing happened. It's just that I'm a realtor, and that's how I pay my bills. That's what he said right there in his meme. Your thoughts on Seth Batten's meme here, and I'll tag Batten in the feed here so we can get him watching. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I like Seth. He's a great guy. He actually helped me a lot when I first started in real estate, him and Cynthia. They are great people, and, I have a lot to thank for him for that one. Seth's always funny. I like looking at his memes online. But, yeah, maybe he's just I don't think he's concerned because he's a great agent. I think that,
it was tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
As things start to shift a little bit, he's going to be just fine, I know, for sure.
Yeah, Seth, you kill it. We know you kill it. You're a talented agent. What's it do to the 1,200-some agents in Carr?
So you're gonna
give us a straight take on that?
I'll give you my realistic take on this, right? So
there's a lot of agents.
Yeah, anybody with a pulse out there that was standing in the right place at the right time would have been able to secure, a listing. Now I think it's really going to come down to who's ready for it and who's been sharpening their skills in the last 2 years. I think we're going to see some agents drop out because it's not going to be easier for them. You're really going to have to put on your hat, multiple hats. You're going to have to be master at marketing, right? Because you got to get your listing to stand out above everybody's. Buyers are not just in a frenzy like they were in the past 2 years. You're going to have to really stand out. And I think, with a shift like this coming, and I'm not saying it's a bad shift. It's like you said, more days on market. That's great. That's a shift in the market. These are the things that we got to be prepared for. And so you got to be a master marketer. You got to be someone that can negotiate. You got to be able to speak to your clients because now they have options, right? Not everybody is as busy as they were. So you're competing with the top agents that have been in this market doing this very well for the last 2 years. And so now with the sellers starting to come to market, you may see those competitors across the table from you, and you may be in that listing appointment with them coming in right behind you. So you have to be sharpening your skills at all times and always be looking to improve your experiences for your clients.
Well said. Nikki, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a matter of there's this level of expectation. The last 2 years, it really has been. Like, people are like, oh, you're a realtor, right? And you could just really fall into some business, and that's a house would sell even if you didn't have great photography and you did it yourself as a realtor who's not also a photographer, which really, if you're running a real estate business or a photographer business, pick one.
Yeah.
Or hire out, leverage, right? Which one is actually the one you want to do, leverage out the other, right? So being able to be professional, have your value add, as we like to say, right? What is your value? What are you offering? And if you're not, it doesn't even matter if you're actually offering the value. If you're not communicating that well, if you're not telling your story well, that's going to be problematic.
Very well said. Kerry's getting some props from his adoring friends and fans and family here on the I Love CVille show. Courtney Dickinson, hello. David of Skooma,
nice.
watching
What's
the
up,
show
David?
right here. Skooma Boutique Dispensary, we love you, homie. Scott Gillespie says you're the man.
Yeah,
Kerry,
what's up, guys?
Dalton Carr, giving you some props right now. I count 5 different brokerages on the feed as we speak here.
Fantastic.
So why don't I throw this to you guys here? What concerns you? Kerry, you're a positive guy.
What concerns
What does anything keep you up at night? What concerns you?
No, for the most part, I try to practice good business practice and put my clients first. I think what the level of concern that I have is going to be realistic expectations in the market. And I know I preach about this all the time, but communicating with the sellers, and I've lost a couple of listings because I told them exactly what my thoughts were and where I thought they should be.
They wanted inflated price?
Yeah,
they
wanted an inflated price, and I told them, I don't stand behind that, and I don't think you can. And I said,
were you right?
Yep.
You were right?
100%. I know there's a townhome that's across from well, never mind.
Yeah. Well played, Kerry.
There was a townhome that I went on the listing appointment, and I gave him the exact price of what I thought it was going to sell at. And another agent come in, and they, told him a higher number than I did, and they went with the higher number. After about 30 days of being on the market, I seen it come down to the price that I originally got them. Within 2 days, it was under contract. And as far as I know, it has sold. But I'm not going to inflate a price to win a deal, because at the end of the day, It's my yard sign that's sitting in front of there. It's my listing that's on the market. Yes, it's your home, but if it's sitting on the market for 100 days, that just means that I missed my mark.
Well said.
Yeah,
damn, that was good right there. Nikki, jump in here. That's tough to
I don't know
follow
that
right
I can
there.
follow that.
That's tough to follow right there.
It
You're on
is.
fire
Oh my
today.
gosh, that's incredible. I don't even know where to go from this. That was great. Truly, you're right though. Like, just having your yard sign out there is not the job. That's not what you're going for. You're trying to help that client achieve their goals by selling their home, by buying a home, whatever that may be. I know the last week we talked a lot about that communication with clients, and you're really amazing at that.
Are we seeing any investors in the market? Multiple people on the feed saying, what's the investor market like, and how have rising rates impacted investors and flipping homes locally? Do you guys see a lot of flips locally?
I mean, yes and no, but typically when investors buy properties, they're not necessarily looking to flip unless
they're buying and holding.
Yeah, unless they got a crazy deal and they know that they can get some cash out of it, because the investors are looking at things long term. They're not, I mean, anybody that's in the real estate business, if you're looking to be an investor, you're trying to buy and hold, so you're getting those rents. Now, if you get something that's dirt cheap and you have to put $100,000 into it, and then you turn around and sell it and make $100,000, by the time you do that, you got capital gains and everything like that. That's not the move, I don't think.
Right.
Investors are, there's always going to be investors out here in the market. Doesn't matter what the rates are doing. Your investors are more business sound than that. They're going to be looking at it a long-term stance, and they're going to make sure that they factored everything into it. And I don't think the interest rate is going to drive investors away.
Is the price point in this market too expensive for the house flipper?
Yes.
It's not just the price point either, though. Well, because here's the thing. They're not buying from the MLS, though. Mm-hmm. They're going around and they're finding a home that's been vacant for years or is in disrepair. And absolutely. I mean, a good investor is, right? I mean, you can also find things on the MLS, and you should, right? I have. I'm really happy with it. And if what I'm looking for is a flip, or if I am running an investment business, I'm looking everywhere. And honestly, when I was helping find homes for my buyers, I was looking everywhere. That's important. I'm not going to miss something just because it's not in the system that I look at, right?
Well, let's be realistic here. Everyone at this table is business mindset. They're looking. We all know how the investors, flippers kind of do this. You know, there's mailers that get sent out. There's dialer apps that, you know, call 100 people a day. They have people working for them, you know, with the yard signs, hey, we buy homes and stuff like that. So odds are they're not shopping on the MLS as much as most people would think. They're out there getting the deals before they hit auctions, they hit county websites, taxations, you know, things like that. They've already exhausted most of those before they even look at the MLS, in my opinion.
Woody Fincham jumping in here with a couple of comments. The fabulous appraiser from Fincham and Associates. We'll get to Woody's comments here. He says, same for appraisers, but there's going to be some attrition. He's talking about your take on the agents potentially dropping out. He says that's going to be the same, Kerry, for appraisers as it is agents. There's going to be some attrition, supply and demand. I really think that full service agency will come back to the forefront. He says also, Woody Fincham, we have a fair amount of tenant-occupied property in our pipeline right now, the appraisal pipeline. He says half are refinances. It seems the landlords are pulling out liquidity to invest into more properties. The investors that we are working with are acquiring more right now. That's from Woody right there. You want to take on that?
And again, like I said, the rates are not going to scare off the investors. They're smart with their money, and they're looking at other avenues to do this, right? So they know that they can refinance down the road. And I'm actually glad to have the appraisers on here. I appreciate you guys, because that makes a big difference. And I like to hear you guys chime in as well. I actually really appreciate the appraisers. They're the ones that kind of help pull back when the things were getting crazy. And I've had some of the deals that I've had on the buyer side come back where it did not appraise for value, and that was able to pull back on the rising cost of housing. And I appreciate you guys for that, and be able to stand your ground, because agents like myself, we provide comps and everything that you need to go along with it, and we make it very difficult on appraisers. But you know what? We need you guys, and that's really fabulous to have. You know, I think that the renters, the landlords, and the investors are always going to do this. And having the cash to pull out, this is a great time for those guys. And they're going to continue to buy up the real estate.
Emily Ann Coulter watching the program.
Awesome.
Welcome to the show. Danny O'Day, he and his fiance, soon to get married, looking to buy a house. Welcome to the program, DOD. You got a couple of mortgage brokers. You got an appraiser. You got 6 real estate firms on the feed right now. All right, why don't we do this? Oh, man, an hour flies by when you're having fun.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
Kerry and Nikki,
Okay.
The crystal ball predictions for the rest of the year as we head into next year. I love the crystal ball predictions on this network here. Nikki, ladies first. Show is yours.
Well, what are you asking me to predict?
How
Very
do
wide
you
open.
see this market shaking out?
I think that this whole calming down, I think that's going to continue a little bit. I think we're going to go back to what we keep calling a normal, and normal is a setting on a dryer, right? But I think when we say a normal, what we're talking about is having that more seasonal rotation of a spring that's a little more listing heavy, and then a little bit of a, let's breathe, and then, a fall that comes back once everybody's back in school, and then winter where we're actually able to spend time with families and enjoy the holidays that we like to celebrate. So that's kind of part of what we're talking about with the new normal, and also not having the crazy kerfuffle of battle. Now I'm going to use that every chance I get.
I like it. Great
we
work.
never got a definition though.
I think Judah got the definition.
Do we have a definition?
You got the microphone and the volume over there. The
awesome.
Director. Chime in. What's the definition of kerfuffle?
A commotion or a fuss, especially one caused by conflicting views.
Okay. You used it well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm going to use that.
Very nicely done.
On my next appointment.
I think we're going to continue to move back toward more of a normal, and I think it's nice. I think that as long as builders continue to build, and if they can continue to do so at a high rate, that's going to help us so very much, because we need those houses. And I do think that when it comes to realtors, they're going to have to up their game. A lot of our realtors already had great game. And some of those same people struggled a little bit when it was completely chaotic and are now able to come back to, okay, hold on, what are my foundational pieces? What got a little crazy? Let me make sure I'm working on my foundation and not being caught up in the chaos, right? And then some people who just got in have a lot of learning to do. If you've only been in real estate for a year or two or maybe 3, you have things to learn that you haven't had the opportunity to learn and apply. And there's something really important about learning it and applying it, right? That ability to negotiate at a different level in a different context, that ability to educate sellers, those are all really, really needed and important. And for those who do that, they're going to be fine. They're going to be building businesses that actually will help sustain them for however long they want, because if you can build a business in a shifting market, you're good.
Well said. Nikki Chambless crushes it on this show on Mondays. Kerry, you have been on fire.
Thank you.
He is, every time he comes here, he does better.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
just had
great.
a
Getting easier.
grand slam today. All right, the show is yours, my friend. Anywhere you want to go.
So my crystal ball prediction is I think that we're going to see rates come back down slightly. I'm not saying it's going to go below 5, but I think we're going to see the rates come down slightly, and I anticipate that because we got the midterm elections coming up. So I think both parties are going to do what they can to try to help the American people, but I think that the interest rates are going to come down slightly. I think that houses are still going to move within a reasonable time frame. You're going to see more houses on the market for longer days on market. I think you're going to see, like Nikki said, a little bit more of what was normal, and that just means more inventory for buyers to consume. And the sellers are still going to have a good opportunity to sell a house and make a profit off of it. I think that you're going to see agents that are going to step up in their marketing and their ability to negotiate. They're going to sharpen their tools, and they're going to get after it. I think that it's going to be, the rest of the year is going to look fantastic for those that are willing to get out there and work. And it's going to be a great opportunity for buyers to come back into the market and try to secure something for them and their family.
Well said. Guys, when you see Kerry and Nikki walking around town, give them some props for crushing it on today's show. Seriously, you guys crushed it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
It was awesome.
We love being here.
I do too.
Same.
I really do.
It's very enjoyable with you guys. They made a host job very easy today, Nikki Chambless and Kerry Griggs. I love when the guests have great ammunition, something to say, and back it up with facts and perspective. Judah Wickhauer is the director, the North Star of our infrastructure over here. The show is Real Talk with Keith Smith. All the shows archived online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. It's powered and presented by Keller Williams Alliance. You can count on Keller Williams Alliance. 2 of the team members right here, and Nikki Chambless and Kerry Griggs. My name is Jerry Miller. The I Love CVille show is up at 12:30 p.m., and there's a lot of news to cover today, guys. We'll see you very shortly. Take care. Well done, my friends.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks for having me, brother. I always love being here.
It was